So how do you really handle a tech support call when you're not very tech savvy? That's what we're going to talk about in this video. Hi there Ninja, welcome back once again. My name is Rhea and you're still watching Call Center Ninja. If you're new here, I share real stories and tips to help you begin, enjoy, and survive your call center lifestyle. So please consider subscribing. Just click the red subscribe button down below. And thank you so much if you have already subscribed. So let's just say that you really want to apply for a call center job, but you're worried because you're not very tech savvy. So you are contemplating whether a call center job is the right job for you or not. But let me tell you that you can still apply for a call center job, even for a tech support account, even though you are not really that tech savvy. If you remember, I mentioned in my previous videos that I was profiled for a banking and financial account when I did not have any idea about banking and financial stuff right before I applied for a call center job. But because there was training involved before you actually get to take calls, you will still be equipped even though you don't have experience at all. So one of our viewers have requested this video. How do you become sufficient as a tech support specialist when you don't have computer science or IT background at all? Well, you don't have to worry because aside from the training that will be provided by your company or by your account, everything can actually be learned. And in a tech support account based in customer service, it will only be the basic stuff, usually if you're a frontliner. So you're not really going to delve into the more complicated part unless you will be promoted to another skill or another tier level of tech support wherein you take escalations, but even so, you will still be trained for that. My tip number one is to be open for learning. First and foremost, when you are in a tech support account or when you're profiled for that type of account, you might think that I might not be able to do this because I'm not very tech savvy. Don't have that kind of mindset. You have to be open for learning or for new things. So even though you're not very tech savvy, but as long as you know how to learn and you're open for learning, you know how to use a computer, you at least know how to turn on or turn off a computer and navigate, then there should be no problem. And in fact, if you are watching this video right now, then that means you were able to go to YouTube, you were able to log in, you were able to access internet using your phone or your computer, then that means that you have at least even just a little bit of knowledge about computers and about the internet. The rest of the things you will learn during your training. So don't close your mind to learning. Everything can be learned. Tip number two. This is a cliche or might sound a cliche because I always say this, but for every skill that you have to learn, you really just need to practice and learn it. For consumer tech industry, a lot of the concerns are about softwares, hardwares, applications, internet, troubleshooting. For you to be able to really step up as a tech support specialist, you have to master your navigation skills or your tools. So when you get there, when you are already trained for it, make sure that you take some time to practice your tools. And because you will be using those tools every day of your life as you are working, those are the only tools that are important for you at the moment. You don't really have to get distracted with so many things at once. Just practice the tools that you will be allowed to use. So number one is your navigation skills. When I was a trainer, I used to have a navigation test for my trainees. So what would happen usually is I ask them to master the different tools and the different links, like where to go. For example, if they needed to change the password for online banking, where to go if they needed to change the address, if they needed to help a customer with browser troubleshooting. So I'd ask them, okay, for example, Ben, where do you go on your tool to access the password reset for your customer? So that trainee would have to look for it on his own and tell me where he or she can find it. So that way, with navigation test, you don't really have to worry about assisting the customer yet, but you are focusing on how to use the tool first and how to master it. Now, each tool that you are supposed to use and you're allowed to use should be mastered, because that will also help with your efficiency as a tech support specialist. And once you have mastered the tool, okay, this is including your knowledge base and your job aids. Once you have mastered those, then it will be easier for you to provide resolution as a tech support specialist. And I'm telling you, even though you don't really have that much experience with tech support industry, you can still perform well as long as you know how to follow instructions and as long as you know how to help the customer resolve the concern based on the resolutions provided to you by your client or by your account. Tip number 3, this happens during the call. So let's just say you already have an open mind for learning, you have already mastered, or at least you are learning how to master your navigation tools or your knowledge base or your job aids. You have a great idea of how to handle the computer and everything that goes with it. Then you now have to think of how you will handle that tech support call. So the third tip in relation to that is going to be to identify the problem or the issue at hand right ahead at the beginning of the call. So of course, after your greeting, after you have empathized or apologized if needed, then you have to start identifying the problem. So how do you identify the problem? It's just really the same with all other types of calls, but with tech support calls, what I'd usually like to start with is, what is the error message? Or what is the problem, the specific problem that the customer encounters? For example, in online banking, if the customer says, I cannot log into my account on your website. So the problem is that the customer cannot log into the website. But then I had to know how to resolve that issue. So the very first question that I would ask is, what is or what was the error message that you are seeing? Or what can you see on your screen right now? Can you please describe to me what you can see on your screen right now? Or if it's not an internet issue, you can ask your customer, can you please describe to me what you did before this call that resulted to that? Or if the customer doesn't know that at all, then you have to be descriptive with your question. So it really has to be the right question so that you will get the right answer from your customer. Another thing is that you can always check existing or previous tickets or previous issues that might have already been resolved by your colleagues or by other specialists or representatives. For sure, these issues would be published somewhere in your bulletin, or you can ask your supervisor, because when customers call, the concerns are pretty much the same over and over again. They just word it differently, so it sounds different, but actually the resolution is just the same. So consider checking other issues that happened previously that already had resolutions, and you will save some time in going through all the steps because it's already published. You already have the resolution ready for the customer. Tip number 4 is to evaluate your customer's tech level or skill level without actually discriminating or looking down upon the customer. Because although for you as a tech support specialist, the issue might be very, very simple, but it might not be for your customer. And you have to understand that different customers have different needs. Some customers find it really easy to fix and can really follow your simple instructions. Some customers may find it difficult to follow your instructions. It could be because of the way you deliver the instructions, or it's just that the customer is not very used to technology or computers, that she needs more help with navigating his or her computer or his software. So in this case, once you have evaluated the tech skill of the customer, that's how you will know how you will respond to the customer and how you will provide the instructions. So if you gauge that the customer is a fast learner or basically knows how to navigate the computer, then at least you can just provide the instructions easily. So it will save you some time. You don't really have to go very specific about it. But if you know that the customer is having a hard time understanding the tech behind it, then I'd always advise for you to be very descriptive and specific with your instructions. In fact, I always tell my trainees this, to be considerate of the customers, because again, they have different levels of tech savviness. So if you feel engaged that your customer is a little bit behind in the tech part, be descriptive with your step-by-step instructions. So if possible, you can tell the customer, Mr. Customer, first we have to close the browser window, just click the X button on top. You have to be really descriptive like that, even for the callers. The customer says, I don't know what browser I am using. So you have to explain. You have to explain it in layman's terms. Are you using Mozilla Firefox? Are you using Google Chrome? You give them options to make it easier for them to understand. If the customer does not understand Mozilla Firefox or Google Chrome, ask them, are you seeing an orange icon, like a fire icon? Are you seeing a blue, green, red icon? So try to be descriptive for them. Adjust to their needs, because they are the customers and you should be the one adjusting for them. And my tip number 5 is to have a great deal of patience, not just to your customers, but also to yourself. Because sometimes you get impatient with these types of calls. With tech support, it's highly likely that your handle time is a lot higher or longer because of the fact that you sometimes need to be on the line with the customer until the issue gets resolved, or let's say until the customer is able to connect to the internet or is able to log into the website, because you don't want customers who keep calling for the same issues again and again. You would want to resolve it in that one specific call. So that's about it for today. I hope you've learned something from this video. And as usual, if you like this content, please like, subscribe if you haven't yet. And remember, I have videos every Wednesdays and Fridays. So see you again next time. Take care and bye-bye.